Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West Show. Jack Chow with the East-West Show, with G&E TV. Month of February is a very special month, and lots of you know already, but there are people among you who do not even know about February. February is a month of American Heart Month. When I say heart, I'm not saying the rhetorical heart. I'm talking about physical heart, which is here or here. I don't know. I don't know where is it. Maybe here, right? American heart, right? With me today, talking about heart, American Heart Month of February, is my dear friend, Dr. David Sook. Dr. David Sook is a cardiologist for the Monarch healthcare system, and is board certified. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for having me.
All right, okay. Oh, it's a pleasure, right? Everybody wants to live longer. So doctor, nobody passes at the line of doctor. Doctor is the first line up, important profession, right? So tell me something about yourself, please. And tell me something about your Monarch Healthcare, please.
Sure. So like you mentioned, I'm a board certified cardiologist. I'm also certified in interventional cardiology and internal medicine. I work with Monarch Healthcare, and we take care of their patients for all of their cardiovascular needs. I grew up in the Inland Empire, and then I was educated all over the country. I did some of my training at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, UC Irvine, and Washington University in St. Louis. But now I make my main practice is in Costa Mesa and Anaheim.
All right. With all due respect, please allow me to say that you look a lot younger than your experiences.
Thank you. Thank you.
than what you have gone through as training.
Oh, that's a wonderful compliment. Thank you.
Is that it? But anyway, you do look younger. Right? Anyway, so of course, it is logical, right? For a doctor, if a doctor dies before me, well, he's no good. All right? It's, more logic that I die before him because I'm not a doctor, something like that, right? I know the American Heart Month, which is February. It is a very important month. I want to go back a little bit about the month, right? In the first place, when was the month named as American Heart Month, and why and how, please?
So I'm not exactly sure about the history of it. The main thing is that February is American Heart Month because we want to make people aware that cardiovascular diseases that affect the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood flow to all the organs of the body, that diseases of those systems is the #1 killer in the U.S. And
still is.
It still is. It still is. And even though we have made tremendous gains in the last several decades to find out what can increase your risk of having these problems and what can we do about those, it remains the #1 killer in the U.S.
And that is very serious. If I were you, I would make it a call. It's like saying the American Heart Year. Every day is a heart day, because that's the most important thing. Lots of friends. I have a friend recently. She came home. She does the midnight shift. Right? She doesn't end her shift until 2 in the morning. She got home, found her husband lying on the floor, dead for several hours already. And the autopsy finds out the heart disease. The cardiologist, cardiovascular failure. Right, so, and we're so close. And her husband is much, way younger than I am. So that gives me a kind of a call. Oh my God, something could happen to you, right? Like that. My dear audience, I'm not exaggerating. I'm really talking about true fact, right? So, and what's on the average between men and women facing the cardiovascular failure attack? They say 45, they say 65, they say whatever, age-related and gender-related.
Yeah, well, as we get older, all of our body parts start wearing down, and we develop increased risk of having any number of health problems. For heart disease, for men, as you get into your 50s, especially, that's when your risk of heart disease starts going up. For women, it's about 10 years later. The symptoms of developing heart disease, sometimes people feel fine. They don't notice anything. And unfortunately, my condolences to you about your friend. Sometimes sudden events like this can happen. Sometimes we just don't notice that these things are going on. But a lot of times people do notice that they are having symptoms, and we hope that they would go see their doctor to talk about those issues and to get them evaluated. But regardless of whether we feel symptoms or not, even as we're getting older, we do know that there are many things that we can do even at my age to decrease my risk within a couple decades of developing these sorts of heart problems and just decreasing the chance that something tragic like this will happen.
I will check with you another thing, which is not on the list of my question that I plan to ask, though. There is a understanding or misunderstanding saying that men or women at 45 or 55, they are kind of at a special moment or period of life, they are facing lots of risks, right? And then whenever you pass that safely, for example, you're 65 or 75 and you're okay, just live until every part goes off, something like that. Is that a myth or is that a truth?
I would say that that's a myth. As we age, the risk certainly increases as we get older and older that something may happen. Certainly, if you reach the age of 80, the chances of reaching the age of 90 is even better. But typically we say that through the ages of 50 until you're through your mid-70s, that's that your risk of developing additional heart problems
they say
just goes up.
They say that they believe there's a threshold.
Yeah.
So in your term, the threshold doesn't exist. But
it's not my area of expertise about the exact statistics and that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I really want to break that myth because it is very confusing and is kind of misleading. Or thinking about, oh yeah, you're old enough to be strong or something like that. It's not logic, right? And I have some questions that I prepared to ask you for, and of course we're talking about different areas. I want to separate my questions into two groups. One group of prevention, how from a preventional perspective, how much we can do and how to do it, right? And then there are lots of situations to handle the specific moment when something strikes. For example, a friend of mine 3 years ago, 2015, was driving on the freeway. He was kind of going east to Del Mar's area, and he kind of died right there. And I'm so close to that guy, so the cops will find my name, my number in his wallet or somewhere, because a piece of card or something. They called me. I went to the Corner Horse, the house in downtown, right? And they told me the guy was a responsible guy. And he just used his last moment to move the car safely to the right and park the car there, then die, something like that, instead of causing lots of traffic, right? May God bless his soul. Anyway, now, obviously there's another group of questions of how to handle a situation like that, right? So let me start with the first one.
Okay.
Shall we, please?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Oh yeah, we are about to wrap up this segment. With me today is my good friend, David Suk. David Suk is a board-certified cardiologist, and he is now serving the Monarch healthcare group. By the way, my wife is insured through your system.
Oh, she's a Monarch customer. That's great.
Yeah, customer. And oh, you guys charge too much. I'm kidding. No, you're not. You're not. So anyway, let's take a short moment out. When we come back, we'll find out from group to group, one by one, answers to my questions. Stay with us, please. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, my dear fellow Americans. Welcome back to the show. Regardless who you are, how old you are, you always want to live long. And this is a show to tell you how to live long. At least you can live longer than you deserve. If you really listen to this show, listen to the conversation, watch this show. With me today is my good friend, Dr. David Suk, a cardiologist, board certified. He works for the Monarch. By the way, mistake was made. The last segment is Monarch. No. Monarch, Monarch, Monarch Healthcare System, which my wife's insured. And well, anyway, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, my pleasure. And we are here, the reason we're here, because February is the month of American Heart. It's a heart campaign. You're talking about your heart. Well, not my heart. Okay. When everybody talks about his or her own heart, though, American hearts are taken care of. The problem is that in the day-to-day life, busy like this, so sometimes we are too busy to sit down to think, am I treating my heart right? Or something like that. Now is the moment to calm you down, say, okay, give you a moment to listen to this, to check with this conversation, check with Dr. David Suk to see if we are doing the right thing to our own heart right now. Like I said, there are two groups of questions. Group number one are the ones prevention related. Say, and to your professional point of view, I know you're a top of the line doctor of the cardiologist whole area though. What would do to people? I want your advices from early life as possible, please.
So luckily, even though that heart disease remains the #1 killer in the United States, we have found that there are many things that we can do to help lower our risk of developing heart problems later in life. The main problems that often happen to the heart are related to the blood flow to the heart. So we have blood vessels that supply oxygen and blood to the heart muscle that allows it to keep squeezing every second of every minute of every day of our lives. And that provides blood to our whole body.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, those arteries can get blockages developed in there from cholesterol deposition.
Clog up.
Yeah, they do get clogged up. It's just like the pipes in your house.
Like a sewer line.
Yeah, it's plumbing. It really is just like plumbing. But unlike hair and debris just in our sinks, this is from cholesterol. And so a lot of the things that we talk about in terms of preventing problems with your heart later in life is talking about ways to prevent the cholesterol from depositing and from preventing those cholesterol deposits from causing heart attacks or strokes. So there are a few things that we can do even from a young age, even from somebody such as myself or younger, even if my family is lucky enough that we don't have any heart problems and I don't have diabetes and I don't have high blood pressure. But if I did, I should be seeing my primary doctor every year and making sure that those are really well taken control of. Because if it's not, my risk of having heart problems later in life goes way, way up. And even if I'm healthy and I don't have those conditions, I can be eating right. So we know that healthy diets really decrease the risk of having heart problems. That means lots of fruits and vegetables. It means eating whole grains, and it means avoiding foods that are high in saturated fats that can increase the cholesterol level.
Such as hamburgers or hot dogs.
Yeah, red meat, pork, those things like that. Chicken, white meats, fish are really healthy.
Unfortunately, I'm a meat eater, and my friend Marianne knows how much I love meat. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. Eating red meat in moderation, there's no problem. There are some people who might argue that cutting it out entirely can decrease your chances of developing cholesterol problems and heart problems. But in my belief, I think in moderation, it's fine. It's when we overdo it and we overconsume these things that's
in
when
my
we get into
case, though,
problems.
I believe lots of my people, especially people who are doing the kind of a sedentary job, sitting there all day long like a worm, right? So they tend to do well, I believe that later we have sports or exercise questions they ask, and they tend to sit there a whole day. And in terms of eating, though, they prefer a piece of steak, take care of one thing, or just one thing, take care of it. They don't have the time, the luxury to be that selective. Now, my question is that in my situation, what shall I do to convert or to offset those kind of meat that I eat? For example, I eat 1.5 pounds every day, and then what else do I do that could offset the record?
So, although I would love to say that we have a magic medicine that improves, that counteracts people's poor diets or lack of exercise, it's just not the case.
Prescribe
you
some.
If I could prescribe something like that, I'd be a very rich man.
Yeah, sure, right.
But there isn't. There's no substitute for good lifestyle habits, and it's free. It's free. So obviously we want to eat the things that taste good, but it's about making healthy choices. And then, like you mentioned with exercise, a lot of us are very sedentary. We don't move around in our jobs or in our daily life. We get used to being stuck in the patterns where we don't exercise. But if I could prescribe a pill that reduced the chances of developing heart problems and strokes by a significant percentage later in life, I would offer it to you. But what if I said that that pill was actually exercising 5 days a week for 30 minutes at a time?
Myself, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I can't offer it in a pill, but it's something that you can go out and you can do for yourself. So, but it's about making healthy habits and developing those. Because for those of us who don't exercise regularly, it's kind of hard to do.
And, well, of course, there's always a question about genetics, right? For example, I came from a family whereby my father and mother, or even my uncle, tend to be kind of overweight, right? In other words, I came from an overweight genetic family or something like that. Would that be, or can that be offset? Or is that a phenomenon or phenomenon that we can't do anything about?
Well, there are multiple risk factors for developing heart problems. Obesity or being overweight on its own can increase your risk. If you have family members who have had heart attacks or developed blood vessel problems, that can increase your risk, but only so much. We usually say that if they developed it early in life. So if your parents or your siblings have had a heart attack or stroke before, if they're a man and they had it before they were 55, or if they're a woman and they had it before the age of 65, then that, we call that premature. And if you've had premature coronary disease, then that increases your risk of developing the same problems. If they were older than that, say a lot of patients come in and they say their mom had a stroke or their mom had bypass surgery and they were 80. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're at an increased risk, because healthy as we are, as we get older, these things just sometimes happen.
I like your analysis. You kind of that's very sober-minded analysis when compared to what we're seeing as prevailing. They are talking about things so extremely absolute. There's no absolute definition about that, right?
Right.
Okay, now, in between, excuse me, I'm sorry. Let's see. In between food, diet, and exercise, right?
Yeah.
So somebody may not have the time to do the exercise. Well, I mean, could the food diet replace the part of the exercise you do?
No,
I'm talking
they don't
about
replace
either
each
way.
other. They're always complementary. And like you said, there's no absolutes. There's no magic pill. There's nothing that will get your risk down to zero. All of these things add together, because at the end of the day, we just want, every one of us, to have the best chance of living a long and healthy life. And there's no magic answer. It's just about trying to do, addressing all the steps that we know that just little by little, they all add together. And in the end, they add up to a lot in terms of lowering our risk. So, you know, you try and eat healthy just because that helps on its own. And then exercising, yeah, it's hard to get out there and find the time. But in reality, a lot of us do have 20 to 30 minutes where we're often, we're not doing much. We're watching TV.
Yeah, honestly, we do.
Yeah,
we do.
we're snacking on things.
We do have the luxury.
We do, and it's just a matter of developing that habit. So a lot of folks don't like running on a treadmill.
I recently put a treadmill nearby my TV, so I can do this by watching TV. Well, not much, but I get a little warmed up with a sweat a little bit, and I stop. I don't want to overstretch myself, which is good, right?
Well, so we want to exercise works by getting our heart rate up and activating a lot of our body systems. So what I encourage my patients to do is if they walk, they should do it at a pace where they're breathing a little heavy and they're sweating a little and their heart rate is elevated to a comfortable level. I don't want you to overdo it, but you shouldn't just walking slowly for 20 to 30 minutes. You're not getting much benefit out of that. You're really trying to activate your body and get it working.
Too less or too much, neither can do the job.
Right.
Just to the extent you are warmed up, you are stretched, and you feel still comfortable.
Exactly.
And sweat a little bit. Right?
Exactly, and breathing a little heavy.
Very good. I would say, my dear audiences, those viewers might worth a lot of money, right? You like my long jeans, right? Okay, might worth more than my long jeans, because might give you a life, right? Might save you, all right? My dear friends, so today we're talking about the American Heart Month, February, which is February. Thank God we have such a month, all right? I thought February is a tragedy month, but no, it's not. With me is my good friend, Dr. David Suk. He is a board-certified cardiologist serving with the Monarch healthcare system, which my wife is insured by. And let's take a very short moment out. I find those advices given by Dr. Suk is very, very precious, and I'll continue dig, and I believe I can dig more for you. Trust me, I love you. Hello, dear friends, my lovely fellow Americans. Welcome back to the show. Regardless, you're a man, a woman, you're a father or mother, you're 80 years old, you're 18 years old, welcome back to the show. As long as you are, my dear fellow Americans, you be welcome back to the discussion about how we want to live longer. Well, heart. Heart is I'm talking about the physical heart, physical heart. And the only thing that takes lots of people's life. And today with me in the discussion to celebrate the month of heart. February is the month of heart, American Heart Month, February. Either way, February month of heart, or American Heart Month, either way. Remember this, with lots of rides, we have lots of campaign about this month for the only purpose, one simple word, purpose, to awaken you to the awareness that your own enemy is yourself, and your magic pill is yourself. Of course, we have a system that backs up, but before we need that system, it is the prevention that kicks in. So back to Dr. Suk. My question. I have lots of questions, right? My friend Marianne Maloney sent me information, says that tomorrow when you interview Dr. Suk, please ask him about the relationship between stress and heart disease, right? Lots of people say, well, they are under lots of stress. They are exercising a lot. They eat like what you described. Well, like a human, I eat like an animal. But anyway, that doesn't matter. But he dies all of a sudden. They say, that poor guy was under too much stress. So how do we, if you can quantify, not necessarily, but anyway, give us some kind of a hint how important stress is, please.
So stress is never good for any body or for any organ system. There's no good way to quantify stress. And there's no good way for us to say this amount of stress causes this much problem on the heart. Stress is something that we all try and control and limit in our daily life. But unfortunately, it's not something that we can say that if you take the stress out of your life, you won't have any heart problems. There are a lot of people who are stress-free that unfortunately still develop heart problems. And then there's a lot of people that develop stress and they have symptoms, and fortunately for them, their heart is able to withstand it. So there's no great correlation, but it's something that I always encourage my patients, that if they can limit their stress in their life, that it's good for their overall health.
That said, however, right, can you describe, in common language, never the medical terms, well, we'll never understand those, right? At the moment, under so much stress, what happens to the heart? In a kind of the medical way to see how the heart reacts at the moment of stress or anger.
When we get stressed out, our adrenaline system releases hormones into our body that activates everything. So in terms of the heart, faster heart rate, your blood pressure might go up, and then you just feel bad.
And by that, they produce a condition that the heart itself suffers.
Possibly. The heart is designed to withstand stress. So say we exercise. When we exercise, our blood pressure goes up, our heart rate goes up, and that's a good way. Stress, when you get stressed, those things also happen, but it may not necessarily be in a, let's say, positive way. You might not get the benefits of exercise that you do when you get really angry or worked up.
Regardless, to prevent putting yourself in the under stress situation, try to prevent anger are good ways.
Oh, sure. Right? I would never discourage a patient from trying to do that.
Okay. How about excitement? You're too excited. Like
excitement is good. Excitement keeps your life, fun and unpredictable. That can sometimes be a good thing.
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah. You see, check the Vegas shows. The Vegas concert, it was actually those in the open. They go crazy like that. That's not healthy, right? Okay, very good. And I'm joking. We all need to see doctor. For the purpose of your heart health, how often, the frequency, see your doctor to check your heart? So how often do we need to see a doctor for heart?
So like we talked about, even when you're healthy, that there are things that you can do to lower your risk of developing heart problems. Some of the greatest advances that we've had in decreasing the rate of heart attacks, the rate of death from heart problems, has come in finding that there are certain things that increase your risk. So these are things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. So what we encourage is that you see your regular doctor, your primary doctor, every year to get screened for these things. And if you have them, to get them treated. We call high blood pressure the silent killer because it won't cause any major problems right now unless it becomes extreme.
You're right.
What happens is that over the course of years and decades is that if it doesn't go treated, then your risk of developing a heart attack or stroke goes way, way up. And so if we can recognize that now, treat it, then your risk goes down with that.
Early discovery and to prevent the accumulation,
right,
which aggravates, right, the body condition,
right,
whatsoever. And then every time when your doctor, regular doctor, family doctor finds something or becoming suspicious of something, send you to a cardiologist.
That's when you would come and see me.
Yeah,
yes.
All right. Now, you're not saying that you want to, this person, every person checking the heart on an every year or half-year basis. And just to see doctor, make sure somebody checks if they are suspicious about your heart.
Right. If you are feeling okay.
That makes sense. Makes sense to me, yes. Makes sense to me. Okay. And what else should we pay attention to when the term of prevention is concerned?
Those are the main things, is living a healthy lifestyle, eating healthy, exercising regularly, and seeing your primary doctor to get screened for these health conditions that we can treat and manage and then lower your long-term risk of developing heart problems.
So, all right. I believe my audience is that they all want to ask a question. Even after the show, though, if you still have questions that are not answered or not discussed, you write it to tellmydj@gmail.com. Tellmydj@gmail.com. You see that on the screen? Well, it's right there, right? Just to say, hey, Jack, please ask Dr. Suk for da-da-da-da-da for me, and I'll convert that to you, all right? How about that, right? So now, is there more prevention on the women's side or on the men's side? Is there anything to do, or just in general? If there is any, tell our lady folks to do this or our male folks to do the other.
So we treat all patients the same. It was a misconception years ago that heart disease was a problem of men, that women simply didn't get this sort of
that's
thing.
why I'm asking, yes.
And so women who would have problems, they wouldn't go to see the doctor, they wouldn't go to the hospital. But what we realized is that they have just as high a risk of developing heart problems as men. And heart disease is just as big a problem for them. It just may be a little bit different. So whereas men might get heart disease the most in their 50s to 60s, women get it a little bit later, maybe in their 60s to 70s. And whereas men might have symptoms like, oh, I feel chest tightness and squeezing, and it hurts right here, women might not get those symptoms. They might say that they feel indigestion, or that they just feel really weak all of a sudden. And so they might say, oh, that can't be a heart attack. There's probably nothing going on. I'm just going to rest and see what happens. But in reality, if they feel that something is new and very wrong, they should go see the doctor or go to the hospital if it's severe, because that could be a sign of a heart attack.
Yeah, all right, good. And my dear audience, I believe you hear that, right? There is a clear distinction. There is no difference between men and women. They are as pervading as exactly the same to male, female body. Please pay attention to. And I'm very glad that you hit the nail on the head. Lots of people have that kind of like another myth, right? So that they believe, it's a man problem, or men who smoke. I never smoke or whatever. I don't have a problem. Oh, by the way, when smoke is mentioned, how is smoking related to heart disease?
So smoking increases your risk of developing heart attacks and strokes, and it increases your risk a lot. So if you smoke, the best thing that you can do to lower your risk of developing heart problems is to stop. And if you don't smoke, well, don't start.
What if, okay, I'm joking, all right. It could be a theory, I don't know. On one hand, I'm smoking, which does my heart no good. On the other, I'm a very happy person. I never get angry. I'm never under stress. So, do I offset?
Unfortunately, no.
No, right?
No, it doesn't.
A very childish thing.
It's wishful thinking. But,
wishful thinking.
Yeah, but cigarette smoking is one of the greatest risks, is one of the worst things that you could do for your heart health.
Very good. All right, my dear friends, today with my friend David Suk, Dr. David Suk, who look much, much younger than his huge experiences, we're touching base with our heart, because the month of February is the month of heart, American Heart Month. Dr. Suk services with the Monarch healthcare system, to which lots of people are insured by, and he is a board-certified cardiologist, and we're talking about how we want to live longer. Let's take a moment out. When we come back, we'll focus our questions to the group of handling emergency situations. For all of a sudden something happens, what should I do? Something like that. What should I do, right? So stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. With me is my friend, dear friend, Dr. Suk, David Suk, a cardiologist, board certified, serves with the Monarch healthcare. Well, the healthcare is one word system, And I just noticed that every time at the break, he has to check his phone. So I asked him, oh, he said, well, he's on duty, all right? And somebody, it's a life-death question. Say, hey, what should I do? Well, how about room 1? How about room 2? Some kind of situation, all right?
I wouldn't say that I'm on call for that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, you're on call.
Yeah, just, regular routine office stuff.
Regular routine, all right. And he's very low-key. All right, good. Yes, questions I ask, many questions. I ask my question on behalf of my friends, and every time I do homework, oh, by the way, I'm a man of homework. I have lots of things to do before rather than even at the show, though, right? So, and for example, last night I called my friends, several of my friends, and tomorrow I'm going to interview a cardiologist. You have questions about your own area, own job? I collected questions. And plus, I have my friend Marianne Maloney. She's an assistant almost for all these years with me. So to everybody, thank you very much. Now, back to the question though. Talking about the moment, like I said, the guy on the freeway, right? Like I said, the lady who came home, find her husband laying on the floor, dead for several hours already, right? So those are the specific moment, right? So during that case, and during that moment, or even before the moment, do our body systems, or does the whole system, when God created, give us warnings?
So sometimes, I'm really struck by the tragic story of your friends that have these sudden events. It's one of those things that we wish that we could prevent, and certainly some patients will feel 100% fine, are very athletic, exercise every day, they eat right, and they can still have these things. Our bodies are fragile, and they're not indestructible, and sometimes we just have bad luck. But a lot of patients will have some warning signs. And
so in general, lots of wood, right?
Yeah, I think so. But a lot of it is knowing what is a warning sign, what is a signal that you should maybe be talking to somebody about this. So that's why when I see individuals in my office, I like to ask them, do they exercise? And when they exercise, how do they feel? A lot of patients who have blockages in their arteries will feel some sort of discomfort, or they might feel very short of breath, or they might feel faint or weak when they try and do regular amounts of exercise. And that might be a sign that when the heart is trying to work harder with the exercise, that the blockages in the arteries are preventing good blood flow to the heart muscle.
I see.
So sometimes our bodies will give us warning signs, and that's something that we as cardiologists can test for and can treat.
Okay. Thank God, really thank God, the system, the body system does give, in most cases, kind of sign, right?
Well, it can.
Yeah, they can, right?
Yeah.
And that exactly reminds me of another friend of mine of Pasadena. I really hate to lose him. I lost him, right? His name is Richard Hyman. May God bless his soul. And good friend for many years. He had that, according to what you described, exactly the situation, what he called a heartburn. He always, every time it happens, he always take one or two of these gas pill with a few burps. He said he feels okay. He treated as if it was a stomach problem, right here. And he died of here. He died of this. One day, wife waited, never returned. I called, no answer, no nothing. And then wife drove to the parking lot, found him in the car dead. Several hours. He's right there in Pasadena. So now, I'm talking about, even though there are symptoms, right, the signals are given, but they are mistaken. Unfortunately, they're mistaken. Am I right? Is this a typical example?
It's not abnormal. And not everybody goes to medical school. Not everybody reads the medical textbook.
Right.
So I can't, nobody can fault people for misreading the signs. We all hope and think that we're healthy, right? And for the most part, when we feel something abnormal, it's not dangerous. It's not a heart problem, but we never know. And so that's why I do the job that I do, is to talk to patients And even if I talk to you and in the end I say, actually that does sound like heartburn, it's better to know and it's better to get checked out than to not know and have something serious happen. You know, the other part of it is that sometimes people have symptoms like what your friend had, where it's something that they get on a routine basis. A lot more people will feel totally fine, and then all of a sudden one day they'll feel heartburn, and it's the first time they've ever felt heartburn, and they say, well, maybe this is heartburn, I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, I don't think that that's the right answer either. It's something where if it's new and it's abnormal and it may be some chest pain or some shortness of breath, you should go to the emergency room and get checked out.
After all, when there's something 50-50%, right? 50-50, well, it doesn't hurt to see a doctor.
Right.
It wouldn't hurt you.
Even if it's a 5% chance, a 1% chance.
It was a false alarm,
Right.
It was a false alarm. You seeing a doctor will never hurt you.
Right.
You regret seeing, but you saved your own life.
Right.
Now we're focusing to the moment when it strikes, when the real devil strike. Right. So, for example, in the case like my friend driving, right. Later on, his coworker says that he complains about the heartburn, or he tends to breathe like this, and working, all of a sudden he will sigh. I'll do the sigh thing, sighing. So that were the symptoms. Am I right?
It's hard to tell in hindsight. I'd have to have a conversation with him and sort of see.
He's dead anyway.
I know. I wish I could have had that conversation with him before that happened. Sometimes people just have to sigh. Sometimes
that very moment, what else could he do to save himself?
Well, if he were to have those things and he'd never seen a doctor, the first key step is to go see your primary doctor. You know, I work with Monarch Healthcare. We've got a large network of primary doctors, and that's a real big focus, is having easy access to a doctor that you can talk to your concerns about, and they're very, very knowledgeable. You know, this is something we deal with on a day-to-day basis, and they can say, this sounds like a typical thing, don't worry about it. Or they can say, I'm a little worried, let's run some tests, and if you need to see a cardiologist, we'll refer you on, and then you come and you talk to me.
All right, good. That's good advice that's taken. But down to the very moment when he started feeling uncomfortable, from the moment he started moving his car from the traffic lane to the shoulder lane whatsoever, normally how much time did he have?
Oh, I can't say. These things are so variable. Most patients won't have a sudden event like that. Usually when folks know that there's something wrong, really don't wait. Just call 911, go to the emergency room, get evaluated.
I see. In his case, if 911, if suppose a doctor gets there within, like, say, 1 minute, can we still save him?
Again, it's very variable, but these things are very time sensitive. If you're having a heart attack, what we say is time is muscle. What that means is when you're having a heart attack, that means that there's been a sudden blockage in the blood flow to the heart muscle. The heart muscle needs oxygen and blood in order to survive, in order to work. And if that supply gets cut off, that muscle dies. The same thing happens with a stroke. If you notice that all of a sudden that you have a symptom such as one part of your body is weak, or you're having slurred speech, or maybe one side of your face is drooping, that can be a sign of a stroke. And just like your heart muscle, the brain also needs blood flow and oxygen. And if you get cut off from that, then the longer you go, the higher the chances there will be irreversible damage to those tissues. And so if you can get to a hospital and if you can get treated within a couple hours, even better if it's within 30 minutes to 90 minutes, there's a strong chance that you're going to recover function and increased chance that you're going to survive that event.
How much does the bypass work?
So bypass is something that happens for when we find out that somebody's got blockages. It's incredible. In the last several decades, we've developed all sorts of procedures and tools that can either open up blockages in blood flow, or in the case of a bypass surgery, actually just detour around it using blood vessels from other parts of the body. That's something that you would talk with your cardiologist about after you diagnose the heart problem, and is something that it's kind of a complex decision making about who gets a bypass surgery and who doesn't.
I see.
But it's just one of the tools that we have
That works.
that gets around blockages and improves blood flow to the organs
Same
and
like
the
traffic,
tissues.
right? You can't get through, you go around.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're a little over time, but we're very happy that we finally got a moment to talk about our own heart. We've been talking about somebody else's heart all the time, but this is the only time we're talking about our own heart. My dear friend, my lovely audience, February is the month of American Heart Month. Please, starting today, pay attention to your heart. And I leave the 30 seconds to Dr. Suk, David Suk, to do your wrap up, whatever. Please.
Sure. So February is American Heart Month because cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer in the United States. Even though we've done tremendous work in the last several decades in decreasing the rate of that of heart deaths, we can do even better. And we know that there are many things we can do to decrease our chances of developing heart problems later in life. So these are things like eating healthy, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, avoiding saturated fats and high cholesterol foods. Number 2 is exercising regularly. We recommend, the American Heart Association recommends 30 minutes a day for 5 days per week. And this is something where we want to increase our heart rate, breathe a little heavy, and exercise our body systems. And then number 3 is seeing your primary care doctor. If you are a member of Monarch Healthcare, you should have very easy access to your physicians to get screened for health conditions like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, because treating those conditions can drastically reduce your chance of developing heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular disease later in life.
All right, all right. Thank you for those advices. My lovely audiences, thank you for watching. And to Dr. Suk, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Let's hold hands for the camera.